Ready, steady, go.
What? Come on, act like it.
Pretend.
4-2. So I was in Toronto, outside of Toronto, giving a talk, and these people who play kirtan music. Have you heard kirtan music? It's like devotional music. Now they're putting it to a more contemporary beat and stuff. And everyone it's really nice. You get to evoke emotion and heart, flower petals opening and everything like that. And then I get up there and I go, well, here's the bad news. In a way, I'm seeing it almost as a bringer of bad tidings, really. It's sort of like you ruin the party. Because it's really about nothing. And it's not like anything here. Over time, I've seen it more and more like that. Because here, we start with all our direction and movement is based on an assumption. As Ramana Maharshi puts it, there's a presupposing, which is the word pre is really important, a little part of it. A presupposing of a non-existent thing, and then wanting to get salvation for that non-existent thing. So basically, he's saying the non-existent thing is a body, yeah? Without the animating, whatever you want to call it, spirit. The body could be perfectly functional, but there'll be no movement. It's sort of like a coffee maker, yes, can only make coffee if electricity is firing, yes? It has no ability to create coffee. It can make coffee if electricity is going through. So this presupposing of a non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. So the presupposing of a non-existent thing, I give it the term of selfing, because it's a large production. It uses the thought system, it uses the perception to reinforce its basic idea that you're a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. And it also has the memory system, where in memories you're pictured as a body. Yeah? You can't have a memory of something that's always here. Yeah, you would be in the availability of it. That would be what was going on. You can only have a memory of something. Yeah. So the memory, all this is facilitating this little event called what comes after is implied to be before. So the sense of being a thing that comes after implies that it's before being, let's say, or spirit. So thing, the selfing implies that what comes after, because the mental process produces the sense of self. You didn't have it when you were a baby. Yeah, it was produced, and it takes time to produce it. Yeah, it takes time. It's a process. So here's a process, and then there's what, let's call it, we don't know what it is, being, onness, whatever. But there is a quality to it that becomes obvious, which is it's not of time. Yeah, because there's never not been a time while you have been here that consciousness wasn't available. It's always, yeah? So it's more of a timeless nature. So that timelessness is what's before, and then the mental process arises, and then it implies that what its idea is before the being, or before the consciousness. So it just becomes an assumption that you're the one who's conscious. Yeah? Just like the whole thought system is based on a huge assumption. The thought system pictures you as a body, and it just assumes that's what you are, and then it assumes that you're the doer, you're the seer, you're the hearer, you're the feeler, you're the smeller, you're the thinker. It's just a huge assumption. And the assumption seems to get by unnoticed, and then it just riffs on that. Yeah? It just riffs on the idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity that isn't after consciousness, but it's what's conscious. So the thing now implies it's before the no thing, and now consciousness becomes an attribute it has, or it doesn't have. And you can see how it questions or entertains consciousness. It says, I can be more conscious, and conversely, I can be less conscious, based on not consciousness, but on me. Yeah? So now this becomes superior to that which comes before it. So that's the heist. Yeah, it's a heist. Now it's very highly vigilant about what's going on, but in this one room there's no light on because it thinks itself to be a thing. Yeah. So, but it's looking at everything else. It's got security systems. No one's gonna fuck with me. No one's gonna get what I have and this and that. But you're living under the effects of a heist. That which comes after has implied that it's before. Now your before comes way after the after. And now you're looking for what's looking. Yeah, you're looking as a thing for what's looking, which is no thing. How the hell are you gonna find a no thing by looking through a thing as the no thing? You know, how is the no thing, how is the thing gonna find the no thing? It's already made it a thing. Yeah. It's conceptualized it. It made it an object. So now what's looking is now seen as what you and I are looking for, but you and I are the emphasis. You and I as non-existent things are what's looking. We're all looking for what's looking as an idea, with the hopes that if I found what's looking, it would make me travel lighter. Yeah? But the whole point is, as soon as what you are gets objectified, it's not it. Yeah? And then the object, this is now sainted with subjectivity, which it doesn't have. It's a non-existent thing. Yeah? So the whole thing is ass backwards. It's like Bizarro World in a way. Yeah? So St. Francis attempts to correct it very simply by going, it's not you and I looking for what's looking, it's what's looking that you're looking for. Yeah? So when it's you and I looking for what's looking, there's tons of paths to enter. Some will say they're the fastest path, or some say it may take lifetimes. But if we keep working at it, you and I are going to find what's looking, yeah, as like a goal, as an object. But St. Francis said, no. What's looking is what you and I are looking for. Now, what does that do? If that dawns on you, it's probably going to produce a huge effect, which is you're going to stop looking for what's looking because you're what's looking. Yeah, it totally makes total sense. If you and I is what we're looking for, what's looking, yeah, and we've now objectified it, that can go on for freaking ever. And who's going to judge if you're getting closer or farther away? It's going to be the you and I. But if it's switched around, what's looking is what you are looking for. Well, that makes no fucking sense. I should be looking for it if I'm what's looking. You know what I mean? The looking for it is the blindness to what's looking. That's how what's looking blinds itself to itself by looking for it. It blinds itself to being what's looking by applying what's looking into the job of looking for what's looking. So it's said in a lot of different ways, but like Buddha would, like Hawaiian poet, great Zen master said, you cannot, well, you can if you want, but you cannot use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. What? Oh yeah. So if there's a seeking of the Buddha, some assumption must be in place that makes the seeking of the Buddha seem incredibly essential and very, very clear pointed, and you must be taken to be something other than the Buddha. Because obviously the Buddha wouldn't be busy looking for the Buddha. He'd be looking from the Buddha. And that would immediately determine it would be useless and totally absurd for me, the Buddha, to look for myself. That maybe would be the greatest way of hiding it. Yeah. While the Buddha, masqueraded as his non-existent Paul, is now looking for the Buddha, which is just an idealized objectual conception from the non-existent Paul. It's even more. It's not even close to the Buddha. Because and if you ever think you're going to recognize it, how are you going to recognize the Buddha if you're not recognizing you're the Buddha? How are you going to recognize the Buddha when you're not recognizing the Buddha? I mean, whatever you recognize as the Buddha is probably not going to be the Buddha because you think it's different than you and you're the Buddha. So he goes, all right, so if this doesn't work, you can't use big M mind to seek mind. The same dilemma, and you can't use light to seek light. You can, but you can do it for eons and nothing's going to happen. So do you see? There's a fundamental flaw. Our whole logic is based on assumption that we're something other than what we're looking for. And St. Francis just very lovingly, compassionately corrected by saying, hey, what's looking? What's looking, not who's looking. What's looking is what you're looking for. That's it. It would be this. That was his book of all books. There's not even one volume. There wasn't 20 volumes. There's fucking 1/2 page. You couldn't even put a fucking binding on it. It'd be like a little thing you'd pass at a table. Hey, yeah, you know what I mean? All right. It wouldn't be a big scroll. It'd be like, oh, what's looking? Oh, what? What's looking? Because obviously, don't you have a sense? Looking isn't this. It's like awareness, whatever. So obviously, you're in the awareness that you want to use to find awareness. They came and they attempted to save us a lot of freaking time. It should be like a warning on every fucking spiritual book. What's looking is what you're looking for. Yes, right now. So why are you looking for what's looking in a book about what's looking? Why not just recognize what's, what I mean? Oh, well, it doesn't seem like it's what I was looking for. Of course not, because you conceptualized it into a fucking mental object. Of course it's not gonna appear as the mental object of the one you're having, because you have no fucking idea what it is. You can't experience it, you can't find it, you can't lose it. That's the beauty. You can't do basically anything with it. It's just on, and it precedes what you take yourself to be. It doesn't come after. It's not under our dominion. It's the context, and we, as this, is appearance in it, a content. How the hell is the content going to act without any? It has to be based on such an absurd assumption that it would have a sense that it was prior to that which is before. I mean, look, I don't know, consciousness, this event of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, it doesn't show any effort or thought to be itself. It's not trying hard to be awake. That's its nature, yeah? It's just awake, wake, and no thought or effort. It's like not taking classes, it's not working out, you know what I mean? It's not seeing or hearing, it's just, it is what it is. It's being what it is. It's not something else that's trying to do itself into being that. That's not it, It's being what it is, which is conscious. And I don't see how, there was this bookstore I do a talk at. I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. A mutual agreement. I maybe not should come back. No. It's not happening. So there's a book on this it's covered with books on all the new stuff. Now the new religion is like neuroscience, all this stuff. And it was a 900-page book on consciousness. Now, aren't you conscious? Why would you want to read a book about what you are? I mean, does it take me 900 pages? Oh, now I know a whole lot about consciousness. You can't know more about consciousness than being conscious. You cannot know more. I don't care how many PhDs you have after your name. It may imply you know more here, but you cannot know more than being conscious. And we're conscious. You know what I mean? It just blows my mind. I don't know. Simple. So what's it's not that, see, again, if you want to really look at it, this could not ever possibly happen. This whole idea, this dreaming. It's impossible. That which is aware cannot become unaware of itself, yeah? But here in time it can seem, and the word seem is incredibly important, which means if seemingly, which means it appears to be true or false to us. So basically everything here is appearing to be true or false to us. And there's some extreme examples, like in recovery, I've heard it quite a lot, where some people would share when they come into recovery and they say, the worst thing that ever happened to me, and they have, it's excuses for all their failed marriages and not getting educated and not being loved, was if that freaking thing was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And then a year or two, they're starting to change, you know, the mental state getting diminished, and now they see it as the best thing that ever happened to them. What was it? Was it the worst thing? And then it just, on its own power, transmuted into the best thing? You know what I mean? It was the worst thing. That was its inherent nature. And then it went to an incredible extreme case of alchemy, and it turned into the best thing. No, it's the meaning you give it, right? You were in one condition, and from there you saw that was the worst fucking thing. That was the worst night when that cop pulled me over. But then 2 years later, now you're sober, and you see that's what initiated the recovery. So that's the best thing. Its worst and best view is not based on itself, it's inherently empty, it's based on us, yeah? We give it all the meaning it has. What does that imply? Where does it take you? Yeah? Because the assumption, the thought system assumes you're a body. It doesn't even think of you as it does all day think of you, but the assumption is you're a body. It's like thinking of you, but the you implies a body, yeah? That's the only way you could be remembered. How could it think of you as a spirit? There would be nothing, how could you, I remember what I looked like 4 years ago as a spirit, pretty much exactly how I look like it now, empty. But, you know, it was all based on body. And this is going on ad nauseum. Tons and tons of thoughts are just popping and that. And our interest and attention, we're engaged with it. More than any other senses. We're mostly engaged in that little porno theater. Because it's all about us, yeah, as a body. That body idea now is taken to be what is conscious. It's taken to be the doer of all the actions. Yet, just if you've ever been in addiction and recovery, it sure feels like you're possessed by something, like a parasite, and it basically uses you for transportation. And it fucking acts out, it takes you to all these places, and then you're left holding the bag, because everyone sees you as a body, as the doer. But things are coming in and taking you over all fucking day. You're like one of those city share cars. You know what I mean? Just fucking pulls in, drives, steals, you know, robs a bank. The getaway car didn't do it. We're like the car. It was the bank robbers did it. Yeah, we're just used for transportation, and then we get all the tickets, you know? We go to jail for 40 years, and we can't remember that night that I killed the person, because I was in a blackout. This stubbornness of us being the doer, us being the seer, us being the feeler, goes against so much evidence to the contrary. And then you believe, oh, well, the strongest instinct is self-preservation. But in nature, it's proven parasites override self-preservation in the host tons of times. The parasite jacks into the brain of the rat, and it says, hey, listen, rat, when you see a cat, because it's got a parasite inside of it, and that poor parasite, you think you're having a hard time meeting somebody, like on Match.com? This parasite can only reproduce in the belly of a cat, and it's in a rat. I mean, it can't call Navy Team 6 to save me, you know, export it out of the thing. It's got to do, how am I going to get there? It has no legs. You know what I mean? Can't call for a car. It's just really, you know, it would probably give up if it had self-centeredness. It would have fucking given up. Oh, fuck it, and just get loaded in there. You know what I mean? It's never gonna work. But it's fucking persistent. What does it do? It jacks into the brain of the rat and tells the rat, when you see the next cat, I want you to run right towards it. And it does. So that, oh, nothing will go against self-preservation. You better believe a parasite will overrun self-preservation in this dream. So do you think you're immune to that? The thought system is like a parasite. I saw it with a guy today in recovery. There's something that's talking at him as him. The thing's advertising its agenda, but it's sort of like if you were at the door, if someone came to the door to sell you something, and it was you'd probably buy it. You know what I mean? All right, I'll get that vacuum cleaner. You don't have a rug, but I'll get the fucking vacuum cleaner. Because so this is what something's constantly, oh yeah, just fuck it. Let's go out. Get loaded. 28 years, fuck it, throw it away. Yeah, it does. And we seemingly have no immunity because the mental state has us, in a sense. We're on call in a way. It just throws a couple of things up there, you believe it, and then you're off to the races. Where's the immunity of thought? Because if you're taking yourself to be a thought, you have no immunity to other thoughts. If you're taking yourself to be a thought, and it's a thought that you're a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, if you're taking yourself to be a thought, you assume that you're the thinker of the thoughts, and you believe that if I'm the thinker of something, I should have some control over what I'm doing. But if you're a thought, you have no say about the other thoughts. You're just one of many thoughts. Now that thought presupposes it's not a thought. It says it's you, but it's still a thought. So there's no immunity there. But if you can see, if you want to study something, study what you're not. It'll go much farther than studying what you are, because you can't study what you are. Because that which is studying what you are is what you are. Yeah? That which all the knowledge, like scientists, they're studying everything, but they can't study what's studying. They can't get behind what's prior, to study it. That's the dilemma. The assumption is so strong, we think we can know everything, but we can't know everything, because everything is prior to us, That's the knowing. The knowing is from everything, not from us. It's going through our brain and it adapts to this dreaming, but it's not going to be known by the knower. Because whatever is feeling can never be felt. Whatever is really seeing can never be seen. Whatever is hearing can never be heard, because you are it. You can hear and see and feel everything else here. Because you're not it, but you cannot see, hear, feel, taste what you are, because you're it. You're not something to find or do yourself into or do yourself out of. You are it. Therefore, it's always available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary. It's not like other topics, because other topics are always something else other than you. This is what you are. And it's not going to fly when you allow what you're not to make it a topic for it. That it's going to study the truth. You're not studying the truth. It's truth studying truth. And that is totally unnecessary. So the thoughts, all that stuff, if you look at it, they're being used by this mental process. The thoughts facilitate. You know what facilitate means? They help it happen, yes? They facilitate the bondage of self. See, if there was a real thing called self, it would be called bondage to self. Just like this could be bonded to a chair. But the bondage of self is an activity. See, in other words, the self is the harbinger of bondage. The possibility of bondage is rooted in the petri dish of self, of feeling like you're a long-lasting separate entity. That's what allows bondage to become a reality, a seeming one, It's a bondage of self, so it's an activity. And there's something that the activity is being active towards, which is what we are. So the activity, you ever hear the thought system? It's sort of a lot of times trying to convince someone there. Who the hell is it talking to? It's talking to someone. I mean, if it was that, it would just drive through the 7-Eleven and buy the vodka. But it's 2 hours or 4 days working on you. All right, fuck it. I'm gonna drink. You know, it's like the parasite. Yeah? It's gotta convince the host to go fucking somewhere. So what is it talking to? What is the only reality there is? The seeing right now. Yeah? And the mental state is constantly advertising to the seeing that it's a seer. Once the seeing takes itself to be the seer, it's not seeing clearly anymore. Now it's looking from the identification as the body, and that's blind to the seeing. And then you try to apply the blindness to look for what's looking, and fucking it's the greatest hiding place of all time. Because again, you run into the wall. The Buddha is seeking the Buddha. Good luck, Buddha. Now, to me, it's not that. It's so much more fun to have experiences and to get better. I love having like a daily agenda, and I've gotten better ever since I woke up. Fucking, that's great. And then the next day I even get better. And the next day I'm gonna go with a group of people and get really better, called the retreat, and on and on and on. And it's great, you can measure your growth. And someone the other day said to me, they came back from a retreat, and I haven't seen them in a long time. They said, "Oh, I'm moving closer to the light." And I go, "What the fuck does that mean? You're moving closer to the light?" I didn't say it that way, but I just was asking, what do you mean by that? Because a lot of times people say shit and you just let it go by. I said, wait a minute, because the light is moving to the light? How could that possibly be? You know, but she looked a lot better than I did. She was excited and glowing and fucking this and that. I was just trudging to get a fucking soup, you know? Because as the light, it's not exciting to find the light as the light. It gets quite ordinary, really. It just becomes very, very... It's so obvious that it's just the way it is. You can't herald it as a new beginning because it never not was. You can't seem to write a story how you found it because you are it. And especially the sequel, how you lost it, is totally unavailable. So it's going to be one short book, What's Looking is What You're Looking For, followed up by the second bestseller, The Seeker is the Sought, followed up by the third bestseller, You Can't Use the Buddha to Seek a Buddha, followed up by the fourth one. If your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing, how can they destroy it? If you need any more volumes than that, you've got to go to extreme care. Those four should do it for the rest of your life. How long was the study session? 5 seconds. You graduated. You are now awake. Oh, what's the big prize? To being awake. Wow. Really? I didn't really have anything to do with it? No, you didn't. Contestant number 1. You're just awake to being awake. Carry on. Don't I get anything? Fucking nothing. Exactly. You're gonna keep having exactly what you walked in here with, nothing. What? No, yeah. And after a while you realize it's the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, come on, I want something. No, really, please, have a little faith. Just stick with it, see what happens. It's different, because excitement comes and goes, you know? Anything in the mental state that can be acquired can be lost. That which is agitated cannot produce stillness. That would be agitation. Yes? The mental state is agitated. it is not going to rest in the bed of peace. Even if it reserves it in advance, it's not going to find any rest in it. It's going to get agitated around peace. It's going to say, I may lose it tomorrow. So meditate, everything, like your sphincter muscle be so fucking tight. Everything's based on you all day. Fuck. This is more like a dispersed sunlight, yeah? And same sunlight dispersed is wonderful. It gives everyone the ability to see where they're going all day. But if you just focused it on any object, it would burn it. It would incinerate it. That's what the mental state's doing. It's calling this the center of the universe. It's thinking about it, like we say in recovery. We're not much, but we're all that we think about. So the more and more focused light, the more fucking mutations it goes. It gets more and more obsessed with self. You can't believe how up the ass of self you can get. Just like right up there. Then you got to get up more and more, find a divine proctologist to pull you out. 8 months retreats, 2 years and 2 months retreats, and then as soon as you leave, you have a wet dream and you're fucked again. Whatever. It's like crazy. You can't win. That's the beauty. The beauty is the wisdom of no escape. There's nowhere to escape from. None of this has any reality other than what we give it. And I don't mean what Paul's giving it, what we as the dreaming is giving it. And every night, we don't seem to get, maybe when you were a kid you had to be dragged to bed. Most of us are looking forward to it, yeah? And then totally, there's a forgetting of you, and then deep sleep is like fucking nothing ever happened. And then we wake up, seemingly, and then, it's like Henry Winkler wakes up and there's the jacket and he fucking becomes the Fonz for the day, you know what I mean? It's been syndicated 40 fucking years. But in fact, it's like nothing ever happened until you wake up. Until you're there, nothing's happening. Yeah. So in a sense, here, everything is happening, but nothing ever really happened. All it is verbing, and none of the verbings ever became historical nouns. You can't fucking freeze dry or like take a single frame picture of water and then call it the picture of a river. You've got to feel the movement to get the sense of river. So everything is verbing. So nothing ever happened, but everything's happening. Yeah. Us included, We're not a noun, obviously. We're not a thing. So if you see what you're not, it's in the seeing of what you're not, that's what you are. You're the seeing of what you're not. So instead of looking from the production of thought, you see the production. Yeah? You see the selfing instead of looking from the selfing. Yeah? You see it. So when you're looking from the selfing and you hear about selfing, people will say this, oh, Paul, I've been selfing all day. No, that's not it. The feeling of being you as the selfing, the selfer of the selfing all day is the product of selfing. Or, the selfing's been driving me crazy. That's not either. Yeah? The sense of selfing is the sense of being the one who's been driven crazy or the one who's driving crazy. Yes? It's the feeling of being the one. That sense of being the doer, the haver, the feeler, the thinker. That's the production of selfing. Yeah? It's the selfing is just being used to imply the noun. Yeah? As soon as the noun gets in place, the noun gives all the rest of the verbing direction, and now life isn't seen as happening, it's seen as happening to me. That's a fucking mental interpretation. Then yesterday and tomorrow become more dominant than now. Yeah? That which is after is now seen to be prior. So our starting point is way off. So we're seeing things from a mental state, and therefore things can be seen as threats that are not threatening. Yeah? Total outlandish making of molehills into mountains and so forth. All this can happen because there's no sense of what's real. So anything fucking goes. And in spirituality, everything's going. So by seeing what you're not, it will distill into I'm not that. Yeah, and it's I'm not that, there's no that, it's I'm not that, all the implications, all the assuming, all the presupposing, all the implying. It's like Zen would say, you know, the fingers pointing at the moon. In the mental state, there's just fingers pointing. There's no moon. There's just, the mind makes the leap in thinking it's a body, yes? Or feeling it's a body. The thoughts pound away, pound away, pound away, pound away, and then this assumption's taken to be so. And then the mind seemingly forgets that it's mind and takes itself to be a body. And then unrest, dis-ease, discontentment, dissatisfaction, agitation become the norm. And then we want to have the effects of what we actually are, but we want to have it as what we're not. So we're looking for what we are to acquire, to put on what we're not, so we'll become a better what we're not. Really. When you see it, that freaking storyline will be totally interrupted. And suddenly, that which was always going to be looked at, like an urban renewal project, always having to be worked on, having to be critiqued. You know, I should meditate longer.